Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show. What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a bit of a different take on the Chris Hanna Show. Today's episode is going to be a bit of a numbered list, actually. I'm going to take you through 9 ways that you might be making yourself invisible at work. So, invisible at work, what do I mean by that? Right? You're there at work, you're doing your thing, you're doing your role, but you're not really there. You are there, but not contributing actively. You are more passive. You are quieter, maybe, than others. The reality is that the people who do move up in an organization are those who are visible. They are seen. But you need to make sure that you are visible, that people know you, they recognize you, you are having a connection with them. Because if you're not visible, sometimes you're forgotten. And sometimes you're deemed non-essential. Are you making yourself invisible at work? Here's the top 9 list. Number 1, do you remain silent, not speaking up for yourself when feeling discounted or unseen by others? I see this happen quite a bit throughout my career. I've been in a lot of different places where I've built and led teams in a variety of different industries, but I've seen people who choose to be quiet when it comes to a meeting, as an example. They fail to share their thoughts and feelings, and then they're frustrated and upset that the direction has gone in a way that they don't feel comfortable with or they're not happy about. So they choose to not speak up for themselves, and then they feel like they're discounted by others and no one cares about their opinion. But when they're given the opportunity to speak, they choose not to speak. Some people actually choose to speak after the meeting instead of during the meeting. And that's a way that you can make yourself feel more invisible without knowing it. Number 2, do you ignore your own feelings and needs just because of other people? By this, I mean that you might have some excitement or passion around a certain topic, but because somebody else has already shared their opinion that they feel otherwise, you stay silent, you stay quiet. Look, people can have differing opinions, and I encourage that people have different thoughts and ideas, because that's a great way to spark some lively discussion, but also have ideas build upon each other. But when you choose to ignore your own feelings and your own needs because of somebody else, you're putting too much stock in what they think and discounting yourself. And that makes you more invisible. And I think that goes into number 3, where do you go along with what others want, even if you really want something else? That's a way to make yourself invisible at work for sure, and in life. You need to state your opinion. You need to state your ideas. If you want something, you got to put it out there into the universe and ask for it. But when you don't ask for it, you might not going to get it. I can tell you, most people are not mind readers. So you need to make sure that you are putting whatever you want out there. Because maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But if you don't do that, you've got no chance. Another way that people are making themselves invisible at work is number 4. Do you accept blame for things that you know are not really your responsibility? Look, there are times we need to take accountability for things when they go wrong. But if you are constantly accepting blame when you don't need to be the one who's on the hook for it, that's a surefire way to make sure that you're blamed for things and you're thought of in a negative light when ultimately you don't really want to be thought of that way. Another way that you make yourself invisible at work is that you put aside your own opinions and you accept the views of others to be accepted. Again, it comes down to sharing your feedback. You need to make sure that you are sharing and talking about what you want and having your opinion out there. Not everyone's going to take it because we don't live in a fully democratic world, especially when we talk about at work. There needs to be sometimes decision by committee, but doesn't mean that everybody needs to make that decision. Sometimes decisions needs to be made by the leader at the top of the chain. So They can't make an informed decision, though, if they don't know all the viewpoints that are out there. When you just accept the views of other people as being accepted and you feel differently, that doesn't help you or anybody. Another way you might be making yourself invisible at work is that you pretend that everything is okay when you're really lonely, you're really sad. Look, there's been so much chaos that's happened in the last year in particular, and a lot of people are suffering through bouts of mental health. There's a lot of people who are obviously unemployed. They are struggling to get by. There's a lot of people who've got a lot of, I would say, baggage or a lot of issues that they're dealing with. And they feel sad or they're frustrated, but they hold that in. You don't need to talk about everything at work, but maybe you need to talk to somebody sometimes. If things aren't okay, you can't just pretend that they are, because sometimes that's the easiest way to cause some sort of blow up, or it can all come out at once and it can be the wrong reaction. So instead of pretending that everything is okay, when you really feel upset or sad, if there's someone you can talk to or you can gain some trust with, that can be a world of difference. Another way that some people make themselves invisible at work is that they avoid conflict at all costs. They prefer peace at any cost rather than rocking the boat. Again, it comes down to sharing opinions and sharing ideas, but if you avoid the tough conversation, sometimes that's going to lead to a worse situation where you're more frustrated. I have had things go awry when I've led some team members before where instead of addressing the problem at hand, you work around it or you try to avoid the conflict, but you make everybody miserable by avoiding it. You don't want to do that. You need to address it. You need to find the right way to do it too, though, so it doesn't upset everyone. But when you just try to keep the peace and not rock the boat, you end up going down sometimes with the ship because it's taken on too much water. Sometimes you need to shake things up. Sometimes you need to address conflict head on. Another way that people are making themselves invisible at work could be times where they are carrying too much of the load, whether it's at home or it's at work, and they do it without complaint. There's a lot of stuff on people's plates these days. We are in a reality where it's do more with less for a lot of organizations and a lot of people. So you're trying to accomplish so much, trying to improve results, but at what cost? The cost is burnout. The cost is fatigue. The cost is anger, frustration that builds up inside someone. But if it's not talked about, and if they don't tell their leader or tell somebody that they have too much on their plate, that's when mistakes can be made. Or that's when something can go wrong with a customer. If you're carrying too much load at home or at work, you need to talk to somebody. You need to do that so you don't have this invisible problem that no one else knows about. There are people out there who might be willing to lend a hand and give you some assistance. The last one on the list in terms of making yourself invisible at work is, do you do everything yourself and never ask others for help? I will admit I am very guilty of this at times throughout my career where I've decided to do everything myself and take on whatever the work would be, whether it's a presentation or some sort of report or just a project. And I've done it not out of malice or any ill intent. I've done it because of maybe a lack of trust, a lack of confidence that somebody has the right abilities to do it, or I'm over indexing on my abilities and what I think I can do. So I try and do everything myself and I don't ask for help, but then at the same time I develop a sense of frustration and it gets built up just because I feel like I'm doing all the work and sometimes someone's getting part of the credit when they don't deserve it. This happens in many different organizations and I'm sure for many different people they feel this way as well. But you can't continue to do everything yourself. You need to be a team player, spread the work around. I know it can be tough. I struggle with this all the time. But you need to ask for help, and people are more than willing usually to help, and if they're not, that's a time to escalate up. people don't know what's going on in your world if you don't share it. The last thing you want to do is you continue to do all this work yourself, and then more gets thrust upon your plate. And it's because you never asked for help, or you never told anyone that you're doing all this work. That just leads to a worse situation for you, where you're 100% going to struggle. So, those are the 9. Again, from the top. Are you making yourself invisible at work? Number 1, do you remain silent, not speaking up for yourself when feeling discounted or unseen by others? Number 2, do you ignore your own feelings and the needs for others? Number 3, do you go along with what others want, even if you really want something else? Number 4, do you accept blame for things that you know are not really your responsibility? Number 5, do you put aside your own opinions and accept the views of others to be accepted? Number 6, do you pretend everything is okay when you are really feeling lonely or sad? Number 7 way that you could make yourself invisible at work is, are you conflict avoidant, preferring peace at any cost rather than rocking the boat? Number 8, are you carrying too much of the load at home or at work without complaint? And number 9, do you do everything yourself, never asking others for help? If you find you are doing any one of these things, you have the opportunity to change it. You have the choice to make yourself more visible at work, and ultimately, probably making yourself happier at work as well. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Chris Hanna Show. As always, the latest episodes are available to listen and subscribe to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow The Chris Hanna Show on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter for more resources and solutions, including blog posts, toolkits, ebooks, speaking sessions, and more. Visit chrishanna.ca today. We look forward to connecting again with you soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.